Dowell Loggains got in there, the Wildcat quarterback, I guess maybe is another option to run the ball. Just what did you guys see from him to say this is what we want to do, and could we see a little more of that this week?
I'm definitely not going to answer the latter part of that, but the reason was, these guys get to play 4 games, and it's important for your quarterbacks to have some experience. So it was definitely something. I think he's played in 3 games now, so he is eligible to play in this one. But we wanted to make sure that he's gaining experience in a role that he could help us. He is a good runner. We were banged up at running back last week, had 2 scholarship kids available. So it was a chance to take something off the running backs a little bit and make sure that it was plays that we thought were advantageous for us, and it was also a way to give Mario a little bit of a break as well.
So I know that this was probably multiple layers to trying to answer this question, but over the last couple of weeks, outside of maybe 2 big runs, I think one for 40 yards against Jacksonville State and then a 70-yard run against Vandy, it seems like the running game statistically, it's a little misleading, like trying to get that consistency going. How do you find that heading into this week, knowing that you're just trying to, be able to slow down a very good Clemson front?
Yeah, the front's really good. This defense is really well coached, and the most impressive thing about them is they play as hard as anyone we're going to play this year. I mean, these guys play hard. And it's something like we've struggled with the run game. Let's just say what it is, like we have. And when that happens, everything falls back onto 7 in the passing game, and that's in 17. But it's something you have to kind of stick with, and sometimes you mix them in as breather plays. Obviously this year we've mixed in catch and carry plays and screens and those perimeter plays, and we use a quick game. We use those as runs as well, because you do what you do well, and you can sit there and say, hey, we want to be a run first team, and the tape says we aren't, and you are what your tape says you are. And so we are a pass first team, but you can't just sit back there and say, hey, 7's got to win the game every play. He's got to make every decision. He needs breather plays. We need to run the ball more consistently than we have this year. And, so for us, it's another shot at it this week of trying to be more consistent with it.
I'd imagine this has been a really challenging season for you as an offensive play caller with the rotation on the offensive line due to injuries and now being down to just a couple of scholarship running backs. What's that like for you, being challenged so much? Is it taxing on you, or do you kind of embrace that challenge from having to probably go pretty deep into your bag of tricks, so to speak?
I think being in the NFL for so long helps me because, we had 45 players active on game day. Now the other side of that is you have injuries, you just go sign someone on free agency. You get them off the street. You have workouts every Tuesday. You bring guys in. You're keeping a short list of guys. If this happens, we can sign him, and him. The challenge becomes Monday, and it's not just what you see, like what happens. Like you've seen games where we played more 4 wide receiver sets where it's 10 personnel because we've had tight end injuries. You've seen games where we use our one of our backup quarterbacks is a Wildcat quarterback because we had injuries at running back. You've seen us, obviously all the offensive line changes that have occurred, which it's the obvious of not playing together, but the stress on Monday comes with making sure that, okay, how do we get our best 11 out there? Who is that? What does that look like? What are we asking these guys to do for the first time? And, we played Jacksonville State, and all of a sudden Juju and DK are playing roles they never played before. Now that happens because you got really smart players. You get banged up at tight end, and those guys were able to help us that way. Then all of a sudden they both get banged up and hurt. So now it's like, all right, well, we'll use tight ends. Well, then Knox gets hurt and misses and is out for a game. So it's a challenge that way. It's a challenge on Monday to be creative with how you're going to use personnel. It's a challenge to make it sure that you can make it through a game. And then it's a challenge to have contingency plans because you're always 1 or 2 snaps away from being completely decimated at a position and not have any scholarship players at that position. So it's definitely a challenge that way for the staff. And it's a huge challenge for some of our players that have roles where their role expands and changes, and we have to continue to preach conceptual learning. So it may be, you start just looking at them as human beings of like, hey, you want a 3x1, that could be the F, the Y, the H, the Z, and that could be in with 2 running backs on the field, 3 running backs, or multiple tight ends. So it also creates stress on our players and our coaches to be able to teach conceptually.
Spencer and Coach Beamer have mentioned the block that DJ Brazwell picked up on that touchdown pass. Yeah. How impressive was that to see a true freshman do that, and how have you seen him continue to grow throughout this season?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, you're nervous when it's a passing situation. You see a freshman out there versus a front that's really good, and that the Kentucky's extremely well coached on defense. Brad White and Stoops do a great job. Not a good job, great job with good players. But their scheme's tough, and they can attack protections. And you can see Spence is going up to change the protection and flip the protection, and he knew where they were coming from. He pops his head up, which we always preach in the QB room, don't lose track of the clock. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, oh, no, we're about to take a delay of game. And I don't think we've been close this year to doing that. And Spence pops his eyes up and sees it, so bounces back and leaves the protection up. And DJ does a great job of coming in and trapping that guy out and allowing Spencer to have a back foot movement to step in the pocket and throw a touchdown to win the game. So it was a huge play. It was a huge play in the game because in that moment it was the most important play. Because if not, we're in a fourth down situation or we're kicking a field goal and we're going to have to ask the defense to stop him and go back down again. And on a night that we were struggling, you get so many opportunities in the red area, and you can't miss those opportunities right there. And then it's a 4-point play because it's the difference between a touchdown and a field goal when you're down. I think we were down 4 at the time. So it's a huge play in the game, huge play.
You've coached in a lot of rivalry games, obviously, Bears, Packers, things like that. What is different about a rivalry week just in a preparation standpoint?
I don't think the Bears-Packer was big. As a player and a coach, I had a chance to be part of Arkansas, Texas, and that was a big one. I mean, my first year as a player there, I think in 2002, Jerry Jones came to speak to our team because he's a Razorback, and you feel – I think as a coach, you don't feel the rivalry as much as the fans and probably the players. Like, they hear about it more. Like, I'm in a dark room looking at tape all week and don't know the narratives of the week until I talk to you guys and kind of feel that. So we're worried about how they play 4-down, 3-down fronts and their cover 1 and cover 4 and cover 8 and which way they're clouding and what pressures they have and those things. But you start to feel the atmosphere more as a coach on Saturday on game day atmospheres, and it's really during pregame because once the game kicks off, as a coach, you don't feel it anymore. But I know our players certainly do. I felt it when I was a player at Arkansas when we played Texas, and even when we played when I was in Chicago as a coach. Like it was Packer week, but it wasn't the players that felt it more than the coaches, I think.
Hey, Dowell, I think Spencer, depending on this week, is going to be right near the top of a lot of single-season records, and you could probably make a pretty good case at the end of this year that, it was the best season by a Gamecock quarterback. But what to you has been the most impressive part of his season?
I got to dance around this one because I'm really close with Connor Shaw, who I coached in Cleveland and Chicago, and so I dance, and I've got a picture of him in my office when we were together in Cleveland. So I have a ton of respect for Connor. So I'm extremely biased towards him and Spence, so I don't want to compare. I really don't. Connor left a note for the quarterbacks today just about this game and how he appreciates how much that they've represented the Block C and what it is to be a Gamecock. And that was really cool. You come in, you see that note from a guy that is as tough a guy as I've ever coached, is a winner. I don't know if this is right, but someone told me he never lost a game in Willie B. Which doesn't surprise me because the guy, and don't quote me on that, but that's what the rumor in the building was, or just an unbelievable person, and talks about the tradition of this place, and to get his approval of how Spencer's played this year is probably more important than my approval of Spencer, because it's a guy that's walked in his shoes and done it at a high level and won a lot of games here. To me, the way when I got here, you obviously hear stuff. You hear rumors and you hear, what other people's opinions are. This guy is extremely professional. He cares about his teammates deeply. He doesn't get tired of doing the right thing. He's on time. He's prepared. He's changed his body. He had a really good offseason. He's become the leader of the team. He prepares every day. He could have griped a lot because he's been hit a lot this year. Not one time, not even was he and I, not through text message, not through calls. And we're talking about game plans at night, and he's at the house with Yaz, and we're talking about football. Like, not one time has he ever said anything about that. He's focused on his job, and he's played a very high level. And I've been a part of some organizations that drafted first-round quarterbacks, and he's as good as any of them. He's a special guy. It did get back to me that he stated that he had another year. So, I don't know what that looks like, but I kind of perked up and smiled when he said that. But I can't say enough good things about how he's played, how he's carried himself, how he's prepared the right way. Just to sit in the pocket and make some of the throws he made. Even the touchdown pass that we talked about, Braz had a great block on, but it's congested. And you got to throw a really accurate ball into cover zero, and he did. And he's done that all year. And just the toughness that he's displayed. This guy sees progressions. He gets through progressions really well. I couldn't be more impressed with him as a player. If you go back, even the 3rd and 15. The one we hit to Leggett, we're struggling. We needed to hit one play, and we have 2 penalties in that touchdown drive that we have to overcome, and you just hurt yourself that way. But when you got him early in the game, we're scoring points because he's making plays with his legs. So you talk about him that way, and then back to the 3rd and 15. He hits the big play to Leggett. Well, the 3rd down before that, we ran the same play, and Leggett's wide open as well, and we take a sack. So we get on the sideline. He's like, hey, I'm going to instead of taking a 3, I'm going to take a 5. I'm going to stretch my drop right there because I know where the ball's got to go. And I saw he was open, and we got a chance for an explosive play. So the next time we run, he stretches his drop. He recognizes this. He goes, hey, I'm going to stretch my drop to, it's a 3 and a hitch. I'm going to go to 5 and a hitch. And I'm going to get the ball to Leggett. And so we called the same play the next time. He hits the big one, kind of got us going, overcame a penalty on that series. And it's just how much he's grown football-wise, his knowledge in the classroom, and he's got a ton of experience now because he's played so much. But you don't learn and grow unless you're really locked in and you're paying attention. And you're watching Lenore's reps or Luke Doty's reps or Tanner's or Colt's and just learning all the time, constantly talking in the meeting and asking really good questions to myself and Sean Ryan and I can't say enough good things about him. I don't know that I could find anything bad to say about him right now outside of I don't know, we've done him enough justice. He deserves to have a better record than what he has. And, that's the hard part for this year is how do you have such good quarterback play? How do you not turn the ball over that position and not have a better record? And that's where I feel like we've let him down a little bit. And I'm proud of him for sticking through that and fighting, and he's done everything he can to help this team be the best version of itself.
I know last year you were very heavily involved in the process of getting Juice to come back for this season. What were your conversations like with him, and what does that mean for the offense next year, but also signal for some of the other guys who may be either making recruiting decisions coming in or deciding whether or not to stay?
Yeah, every day when you talk to Juice is fun because he's a fun kid to be around. It's been a hard year for him because he's so competitive and not being able to do what he wants to do, and that's play football and be with his teammates. And so we've talked a lot about he's for a year about the NFL and what that's like and what the combine's like and what kind of questions are they going to ask and about route techniques and depths of routes and stems and releases and all those things and all the players that we've coached in the NFL and. He's curious that way, and so when you get to these processes, you got to make a decision on what's best for you, and hopefully it aligns with the team. And sometimes it doesn't, and that's unfortunate. But we also understand that, and we support everything that he's wanted to do. So I'm excited about the opportunity to coach him. I've enjoyed being around him. We spent a lot of time together. He came in the other day and popped in the QB room just to talk and hang out, and the quarterbacks have a bunch of sunflower seeds in there, and Lenore Sellers eats a bag a day. It's insane. And then Juice stole the dill pickle, so they were all mad at him. They're like, hey, they were trying to blame me for eating all the seeds. I'm like, I didn't eat the seeds. Juice stole them. But just him being around, he's still here. He's around. He's in the building and with his teammates. So he's a guy he's extremely talented. And when I got here, I watched all the tape on him. You feel his competitiveness. I saw the picture last year from the Clemson game where he's standing looking at the crowd and he's out there talking trash and being Juice. So we're excited to eventually get him back out there playing on the field where he belongs. Appreciate you guys.